You know, now that summer is officially here, I find myself focused on relaxation. Maybe it's leftover behavior from summer vacations and time away from school, even though that hasn't been a thing for me for years. Or perhaps it's the warmer days and chances to get out in the sunlight that makes me want to take things easy. But regardless of the season, video games have always been a way for me to chill out and wind down after a long day's work. Which is interesting because games aren't inherently relaxing. Many require you to put your dexterity or mental acuity to the test. And then there are the games where relaxation is the entire point, where you can just go at your own pace or get lost in a cozy atmosphere. And of course, there's every game in between that, for one reason or another, is a calming or otherwise tranquil experience. So as we gear up for summer, let's quickly dive into how video games incorporate relaxation as a mechanic and how that translates to the player. Considering that many people use video games as a means to escape, I suppose that any game could count as a relaxing one insofar as it gives you something to entertain yourself rather than become a responsibility. Because of my work for this channel, I don't find myself playing video games for pleasure that often anymore, so any chance I get to simply take a break from whatever I'm working on naturally makes me feel more at ease. Finding that balance between work and your own time is often hard, especially because of how flexible you need to be when responsibilities flare up. But if you do have the right balance, it's nice to have that period where you can do something for yourself. And that allows you to do things that calm you down. Video games in this case, but it could be any hobby. Whatever helps you relax after a long day of working. Although we are talking about games specifically, so let's get more specific about them. In a sense, relaxation has always been a part of video games, or at least as far as they've been driven by action and intensity. The most common way to structure an action game moment to moment is with rising and falling intensity, with stressful sections that ramp up the gameplay to extreme levels and periods of rest in between the excitement. The nature of the rest doesn't necessarily have to be relaxed, just so long as it provides a respite from the activity that comes before and afterward. Take the safe rooms in Resident Evil, for example. The atmosphere inside a safe room isn't inherently relaxing, but considering what awaits you outside the door, you feel more at ease here than anywhere else. That sense of relaxation can be abused, of course, giving you a false sense of hope that everything will be okay, and then pulling out the rug from under you. Sometimes, though, the end game is relaxation, so there's plenty of titles that intentionally provide a breezy and calm environment. A classic example is the life sim genre, games like Animal Crossing, The Sims, and Stardew Valley. There's technically stakes in these games, I suppose, but the real goal is to give you a playground to live a life outside of your own. Exploring islands, talking to residents, making friends, fulfilling life goals, you can accomplish all of that for your character relatively quickly, yet there's nothing stopping you from taking your time. These games are designed as time sinks, experiences that you'll come back to a little bit every day to check up on things, and then you move on. That bite-sized and repetitive approach to game making is perfect for games that provide a cozy place for you to get away for a while. One of my favorite ways to unwind with video games are puzzle games, or more specifically, minimalist puzzle games. To be sure, many puzzle games can relax the player thanks to their focus on brain power rather than learning combat or survival skills. But the minimalist approach means that even if the game is mentally stressful, it is also so passive and soft in its design and aesthetics that it calms you down. Drawing shapes out of a single line in Unium, uncoupling all of the objects in Hook, the mathematical problem solving of hex cells. There's plenty of other examples, but this trend of doing a lot with so little always puts me in an easygoing mood. The absolute best example I know of is Mini Metro, which is a little more involved and might be more taxing than the others I mentioned. Yet, because of its simple aesthetics and ambient sound design, it always strikes a soothing chord whenever I put it on. Sure, you need to pay attention to many little bits and pieces, but although you are dealing with rapid transit, the pace never puts much pressure on you. Just enough to keep you from letting it run itself, but not snap you out of a relaxed mood. Then there's the games that don't have any defined objective, where you can relax at your whim and just take things as they come. The classic example is Minecraft, and yeah, there's plenty about this game that is far from comforting. But stepping into the creative mode lets you run wild with your imagination and build whatever you want to build. Some will take that as an opportunity to build a passion project, constructing things piece by piece as a therapeutic exercise or just because they want to occupy their time with a creative endeavor. It lets you cut loose and take on something that you otherwise wouldn't have time to do, going at your own pace and figuring things out as you go along. There's another way games can feel relaxing, and that's being familiar to you. Essentially, these are games that you know so well that they won't surprise you in any way. You already know what to expect, and you want to return to that familiarity. A few games fit that bill for me, but because I can't help myself, I'm gonna talk about Banjo-Tooie again. If you know my channel, you know exactly what this game means to me and why I keep returning to it. I know this game like the back of my hand. Some of my most vivid memories come from playing it as a kid, and even now, it's hard for me to forget even the most specific of details. That makes it a perfect game for when I want to put something on and not even think about it. Plenty of games have mindless gameplay loops where it's all about action, but this one is more about exploration. And sure, I don't discover anything new when exploring these worlds now, but that actually comforts me when I just need to decompress. I already know what's around every corner, yet when I experience it again, it hits many of the same relaxing notes. You know what's another strangely relaxing game for me? American Truck Simulator. And this was shocking for me when I first played it. I mean, how can a game about hauling freight across the US be an engaging title, let alone a comforting one? Yet there's something about being alone on open stretches of road with only the ambient hum of the truck engine to keep you company that's very serene. It is monotonous, sure, but in a way that I think is pleasant rather than boring. Actually, indie games like this are often a huge source of relaxation since the developers aren't trying to be flashy or over the top or adhere to the standards of AAA gaming. Some just want to take you on a quick, simple little adventure and let you forget about everything for a while. Donut County is an apocalyptic tale of a city that's been destroyed with its residents forced to survive underground, and it is also perhaps the most laid-back title I can imagine. Everything from the lackadaisical dialogue to the non-intrusive graphics to the simple concept just speaks to you in a way that's encouraging and refreshing. Celeste is a purposefully difficult game that requires a lot from the player to beat it, but is also immediately comforting and calming because of its aesthetics and the way it talks to the player honestly about overexertion. It does not want you to take things too far or too quickly. If you need to relax, then relax. And finally, there's the games that express that soothing atmosphere by putting you in the role of the comforter, the one responsible for providing the respite for others. I'm thinking primarily of Valhalla and Coffee Talk, visual novels where you serve drinks to customers and then listen to what they have to say. The stories and conflicts paint a picture of a harsh and unforgiving place to live, but that's not what the game is about, at least not as far as the player is concerned. Your job is to make your customers feel relaxed and at peace with themselves, and it isn't always easy or obvious. Yet, realizing what they need to hear and giving them the confidence and assurance to listen to you is inherently satisfying. When you see that it leads to a more relaxing life for these people, that starts to trickle into yourself as well. You feel the ambient calmness and relief building up in your customers, and you feel the same sensations, and that is a great feeling. There are plenty of other titles I could pull from, but those are the ones that I find most intriguing. Whether you find any of the games I featured relaxing, or there's another way you find solace in video games, I hope what I've discussed resonates with you. Games are a comfort to many people, and however they help you unwind, there's no doubt that they're a force of restoration. And that, I think, is a truly wonderful thing. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this silly little video. I planned to have a video on Super Mario 64 out today, but full disclosure, it ended up way longer than I anticipated, and I need an extra week to work on it. So I wrote, recorded, and edited this video in an entire day just to have something out for you in the meantime. And yes, I realize that Crash producing a video about relaxation is pretty ironic. Sue me. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment and subscribe and do all the things you know what to do. See you next week with Mario 64, and have a great summer.